Well, imagine that you are a disciple of Jesus long before there was ever church, that you were one of the very first people, men, that were chosen or called by God or by Jesus to come and follow him. And so for nearly 3 years, you've been following along with Jesus and hearing everything that he has to say and watching everything that he does. And sometimes you've understood, and sometimes you've accepted it, and sometimes you've really wondered what's going on. And now you, along with the others, are headed toward Jerusalem. And Jesus has been very clear about what is going to happen to him there. That it's not going to be really good for Jesus. In fact, Jesus is going to die on the cross. And so now you're wondering, well, what about me? What is going to happen to us, me and the other 11, when Jesus leaves this earth? And so you've just heard that it's not going to be really great for you either, that some things are going to be hard, that you'll probably be persecuted, you'll probably be kicked out of the community. And the next thing that you hear Jesus say is, listen to this parable about praying always and never losing hope. Does that mean then that we are to pray no matter what? That we are to pray when it seems that things are just really going badly? Are we to pray when we're hurt or when someone else is hurt, or we're to see things in the world and we're to pray about them always and not lose hope? Well, I have to admit that I've always had a little difficulty with this parable and thinking that God is the unjust judge. Because after all, the judge is unjust. The judge has no respect at all for people and no respect for God. So it just has never made sense that this possibly could be that God is the judge. So this week, this perspective that was new to me came along and it sort of just stopped me cold. And that perspective is, what if the widow is the one who is God? What if it's the widow that represents God, who is constantly, over and over, coming to the judge, which would then represent the people, for mercy and justice? Not that we are to judge necessarily, but that we are the ones that God needs to act mercifully and to act peaceably and to love others. That we are God's hands and feet and will, if you will. Well, that makes sense to me. That makes sense for the widow to be God in the parable. Because after all, we do have the capacity for making peace and for loving others. Because the God who is love and peace lives in us and is with us always. And so, does that mean then that we are to pray without ceasing so that we are able to help others? Does that mean then that we are to pray without ceasing and not lose hope when we are to be the peacemakers? Does that mean that we are to pray without ceasing and not lose hope when we are the ones who think, is life ever going to change? Are we the ones that are the vehicle, that are the ones, the agents, if you will, for change? You see why it stopped me cold? What a new perspective to think that God is constantly seeking us. Not just because God loves us, but because God needs us in the world to speak compassion, to live with patience, to teach with patience, to love others, to act justly.